So I wanted to take some time to talk about, just the Serena and Justin Fairfax incident. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. And trigger warning, I'm going to be discussing sensitive subject matter. So I don't know Serena and Justin Fairfax, but I do know that a lot of, what's been released in the news media is something that I've already, it's made countless videos talking to you all about, including elements of murder, suicide, and things like that, getting a person out of your home and things like that. So one of the things that I will say is I speak about just using them as a cautionary tale, but not necessarily speaking on them per se, if I may. When you are leaving somebody, one of the most dangerous times, even if this person has never laid a hand on you, never been violent towards you, always have been nice towards you, one of the things that can cause them to unravel is the idea of losing control. And so what that means is, like, when you are perceived to be winning in court, so you might be, the divorce might be getting finalized, you might be winning the child custody, you might have won, the spousal support, alimony payments, did I say child custody, or assets and things like that. So when things are becoming a little bit more finalized for you, and this includes, like, common law, marriages and things like that. But when you're starting to win those things, people that, are narcissistic, antisocial personality disorder, or people who just have challenging, want to be in control all of the time. That is one of the most dangerous times when you can leave them, is when they feel like they are losing control. And that is when you are going to see a different side of them that perhaps you have not seen before, but for the simple fact that they are now losing control, and they don't like that, because that makes it seem as though you are winning and they are losing, and they cannot have that, which is when you will see that ego part really come out, which is really super dangerous for a lot of people. That means that they don't want you to win, and they also don't want you to walk away. Number two, when people, and I've talked to you about this before, when men are insecure, when they are impulsive, when they have access to weapons, when you are living at home with an absolute nightmare. And what that means is you have someone that you're living with that controls the emotional atmosphere in the home and with you. So each time they enter the room, it's like a dark cloud has come into the room. They're nasty. They don't mind calling you out of your name, especially in front of the children, or even when company is there. They want to pick a fight over everything. They're mad with you. They're mad with you because you have a job. They're mad with you because you're holding it down. They're mad with you because you are just simply existing and breathing. And, their eyes, their whole demeanor fills with rage. And you could just sort of, the hatred is sort of seeping through their pores. And you could just feel it. It's palpable. They may be able to flip the switch when people come sometimes, but behind closed doors that person hates you, and they don't mind showing you that, expressing that to you every single chance they get. That's a dangerous place to be. If you can, I cannot stress it enough to try to get away from that. Different states may have different policies, which is something that probably needs to be reevaluated. Again, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge, I'm not a police officer, but I do know that, you know, sometimes people need to get out of their home because it's physically not safe for them to be there, or they need that other person who's not paying for that home to get out of that home because it's not safe for them to be there. And you don't know what that's like until you've been in that situation where you have someone in your home and you have to look at them because the court is forcing you to, or they lash out and they call the police and they make false allegations. And, a lot of counties have a zero tolerance policy, which is if someone calls and makes an allegation that you physically abused them and physically aggressed against them, in particular in Black and brown communities, you may be on the hook for covering a lot of expenses until they can figure out what's going on. So that means that they now can stay in your home rent free. You may have to pay all the bills. There may be pain and suffering and things like that you might have to cover. So every county is a little bit different. And these legal matters like this can go on for years. So when people ask, questions like, why didn't Serena leave her home? Why didn't she? She might have been ordered to not be able to do that, or she might have been ordered to cover his expenses, which means that that's not possible for her until they get all the matters resolved in court. And again, I don't know her case, but I can just speak from, experience and working with, people who kind of gone through this over the years. They may be on the hook for paying things like rent, groceries, child care bills, and things like that. And they also may be ordered to not leave their home, or, have to go through, steps in order to get divorced and separated, in which they must adhere to show that they're not abandoning certain things. So again, there's all of these other policies that could be in place that prevent people from doing what they need to do in order to take care of themselves and in order to stay safe. There can also be another aspect to this, which again, I don't know if this plays a part in it or not, but if you have someone that is well connected with law enforcement, number one, they know all the things that they can do as law enforcement, what they can get away with, who they can call, who can look out for them, who can do special favors for them, and sort of push the envelope in that way. So if it's someone they know, they may respond to it in a different way, more so in a way that's a little bit more, casual, not as punitive than they would for a regular civilian that they don't know. So, for example, if I have a buddy, he's in law enforcement, we've worked together, or I've known him because we've worked together in the past, I might not necessarily take him to jail as I would, a regular civilian. I may recommend, hey, why don't you go cool off? Why don't you take a break? Go spend the night somewhere else. And then, we can, maybe you guys can come back together. Essentially giving that person a pass. There are so many more dynamics that can play into this. My heart goes out to the children and the family. It's a very sad situation all around, and so I hope that, everyone gets their mental health needs taken care of. It's unfortunate what happened to that couple. Let me know what your thoughts are. Be sure to like, share, comment, follow, and subscribe to the newsletter if you want to hear more from me and be kept in the loop about things that, I will be offering in the future. Thanks so much, you guys. Take care.